My dating coach, who said I was hopeless, was secretly in love with me and sabotaging every match. I woke at 3:23 a.m. to my phone buzzing relentlessly on my nightstand. Through bleary eyes, I saw Rachel's name flooding my notification screen. 17 messages in rapid succession, each one angrier than the last. My hands trembled as I opened the chat. Seriously? You stood me up after begging me to meet you? What kind of sick game are you playing? The blood drained from my face as I scrolled up to messages I had no memory of sending. There I was, apparently messaging her at 2:13 a.m., pleading for another chance, suggesting we move in together, even proposing couples therapy. The final message made my skin crawl. I'm outside your apartment. Please just talk to me. Rachel had included a screenshot from her doorbell camera, a figure in a dark hoodie standing at her building entrance for 23 minutes. She was terrified. She was also done with me forever. My roommate found me sitting on the bathroom floor at 5 a.m., phone in hand, scrolling through 3 years of dating disasters that suddenly felt connected by invisible threads. This wasn't the first time I'd allegedly done something completely out of character that destroyed a promising relationship. The pattern was so consistent, it felt like looking at a serial killer's signature. Always late night, always when I was provably asleep, always devastating enough to ensure no second chances. Amanda, the pediatric surgeon with the warmest laugh I'd ever heard, had blocked me after receiving explicit photos at 3:45 a.m. with messages about what I wanted to do to her. I'd been in a NyQuil coma, fighting off the flu. Jennifer, the architect who shared my obsession with mid-century modern design, had gotten a call at 1 a.m. from my ex-wife, warning her about my gambling addiction and violent temper. I'd never been married, never even bought a lottery ticket, never raised my voice at anyone, but Jennifer believed the sobbing woman on the phone who knew intimate details about me, the scar on my shoulder, my mother's maiden name, the fact that I still had nightmares about my father's death. The morning light streaming through my kitchen window felt harsh as I made my 5th cup of coffee, trying to piece together how my life had become this wasteland of failed connections. 3 years, 34 first dates, 22 that seemed genuinely promising, all destroyed by versions of myself I didn't recognize. My descent into dating coaching had started with my best friend Michael's intervention. Not a real intervention. We weren't that dramatic, but close enough. He'd sat me down at our usual bar and pulled out his phone, scrolling through my Instagram. Look at yourself 3 years ago versus now, he said, stopping at a photo from my company's Christmas party. In the old photo, I was laughing, arm around colleagues, radiating the kind of confidence that came from believing good things were possible. The recent photos showed someone else, forced smiles that didn't reach my eyes, always alone at the edge of group shots, the body language of someone perpetually braced for impact. You need professional help, Michael said. This isn't normal. Something is broken in how you're approaching relationships. The coach came recommended by Michael's wife's sister, a glowing success story who'd gone from perpetually single disaster to engaged within 8 months. Dr. Morgan Taylor's website was a masterpiece of professional presentation, doctoral degree from Stanford, published research on attachment theory and modern dating, a TED Talk with 2.3 million views about vulnerability in the digital age. The testimonials page showed couple after couple crediting Dr. B. Taylor with saving them from lives of loneliness. The initial consultation cost $500 just to assess whether we'd be a good fit. I sat in the waiting room of the downtown high-rise office, surrounded by awards and framed articles from psychology journals, feeling like I was about to hand over my broken heart to someone who might actually know how to fix it. Dr. Taylor was nothing like I'd expected, where I'd imagined someone clinical and detached. Instead, I found warmth that felt like sitting by a fireplace after walking through a snowstorm. The office itself was designed to feel more like an upscale living room than a clinical space. Soft leather chairs that enveloped you, warm lighting that made everything feel safe, bookshelves lined with titles that ranged from academic texts to poetry about love. Tell me about your last relationship, Dr. Taylor said, settling into the chair across from me with a leather journal and fountain pen. Not the facts. I can get those from a form. Tell me how it felt. For the next 2 hours, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't even with my closest friends. About how Jennifer's laugh had made me feel like I was home. How Amanda's texts throughout the day had become something I structured my life around. How each loss felt like confirmation that I was fundamentally designed for solitude. You're what I call a complex case, Dr. Taylor said, as our session wound down, leaning forward with an intensity that made me feel truly seen for the first time in years. Successful professionally, emotionally intelligent, genuinely kind, all the markers of someone who should be thriving romantically. Yet here you are, trapped in a pattern of spectacular failures. This disconnect between who you are and what you're experiencing, that's exactly what I specialize in. The relief I felt was physical, like muscles I didn't know were tensed finally relaxing. Someone understood. Someone had seen this pattern before. Someone could help. The investment would be significant, $400 per weekly session, with additional costs for intensive breakthrough weekends and various assessment tools. But what was money compared to the possibility of finally breaking free from this nightmare? The first month felt transformative. Dr. Taylor approached my dating life like a general planning a campaign, with strategies and tactics for every scenario. We started with a complete diagnostic of my current approach. Every dating profile was screenshotted and analyzed with the kind of detail usually reserved for crime scenes. Your photos are sending mixed signals, Dr. Taylor explained, pulling up a PowerPoint that broke down each image. This one says ambitious professional, but this one says emotionally unavailable. Women's subconscious minds pick up on these inconsistencies. We scheduled a professional photo shoot with a photographer who specialized in romantic personal branding. 3 hours in various locations around the city, changing outfits to convey different aspects of my personality. The photos that resulted didn't quite look like me. They looked like a better, more confident, more dateable version of me. My profiles were completely rewritten using what Dr. Taylor called psychological attraction triggers based on evolutionary biology. Every word was chosen for maximum impact. Instead of saying I enjoyed cooking, we wrote about how I found meditation in the rhythm of knife work. Instead of mentioning my love of hiking, we crafted a poetic sentence about finding clarity on mountain peaks. The new profiles felt like marketing copy for someone I was trying to become. Authenticity is important, Dr. Taylor assured me when I expressed doubts, but strategic authenticity is what gets results. You're still you. We're just highlighting the aspects most likely to attract your ideal partner. A comprehensive messaging guide came next, complete with templates for different scenarios, how to respond to various types of opening messages, the optimal time to wait before replying, the perfect ratio of questions to statements. It felt like learning a new language where the grammar rules changed based on factors I couldn't quite grasp. Dr. Taylor insisted on installing several apps on my phone to optimize the dating process. There was DateSync Pro, which supposedly analyzed response times and suggested ideal messaging windows. Profile Plus promised to track which photos got the most engagement. Convo Coach would analyze my messages in real time and suggest improvements. Each app required extensive permissions, access to contacts, location, microphone, camera. The AI needs full context to provide accurate recommendations, Dr. Taylor explained when I hesitated. Think of it as having a dating coach in your pocket 24/7. What I didn't realize was that these apps were custom-built, not available in any legitimate app store. The permissions I granted weren't just extensive, they were complete. Every keystroke, every photo, every private moment was being transmitted to servers I couldn't trace. The early results seemed promising. My match rate increased dramatically, from a few per week to dozens. Conversations flowed more naturally using the frameworks Dr. Taylor had provided. I had coffee dates, dinner dates, even a few second dates. But something always went wrong before anything could develop into a real connection. Technical glitches became my new normal. Messages I'd carefully crafted would disappear before sending. Apps would crash at crucial moments. Profile updates would revert without explanation. Mercury must be in retrograde, Dr. Taylor would joke during our sessions, though the explanation felt increasingly hollow. More concerning were the personal disasters that seemed to strike with surgical precision. Food poisoning the night before a third date with Emma, a family emergency, my mother's sudden hospitalization that turned out to be a false alarm, that made me cancel on Lisa, my car breaking down on the way to meet Victoria, leaving me stranded for hours with a mysteriously dead phone battery. Dr. Taylor's analysis of each failed connection became increasingly specific and critical. When Melissa ghosted after what I thought was an amazing evening, Dr. Taylor pulled up transcripts of our conversations, which I didn't remember providing access to. Look at this message here, Dr. Taylor said, pointing to what seemed like normal flirting to me. You used 3 exclamation points, classic sign of emotional instability to the female subconscious. And here, you responded in 12 minutes. Optimal response time for someone like Melissa would have been 43 to 51 minutes. The critiques felt both absurdly specific and impossibly vague. How could anyone navigate dating with this level of scrutiny? Every natural impulse I had was apparently wrong. Every genuine reaction a strategic error that revealed some deep psychological flaw. By month 4, the financial burden was crushing my budget, but Dr. Taylor introduced payment plans and suggested that investing in coaching was investing in my future happiness. Would you question the cost of a house? A car? This is about finding your life partner. Surely that's worth more than any material possession. The logic was sound even as my credit card balances climbed. We added intensive breakthrough sessions at $200 each when I hit particularly rough patches. Weekend workshops on embodying masculine presence for $500. Access to an exclusive dating app called Elite Connect that cost $99 monthly but promised pre-vetted high-quality matches. Each new expense came with promises of finally breaking through to the next level, and I was too deep in to question whether these levels actually existed. The fake profiles started appearing around month 5, though I wouldn't recognize them as fake until much later. They were masterworks of digital deception, women who seemed impossibly perfect, as if designed by algorithm to appeal to every preference I'd ever expressed. Natasha was a literature professor who quoted Murakami and had a weakness for jazz vinyl. Isabella was a startup founder who understood my work stress and shared my exact coffee order. Sophia was a photographer who saw beauty in urban decay and sent messages that felt like poetry. Each woman built connection over weeks of profound conversation. We'd discuss childhood traumas with the kind of vulnerability that usually took years to achieve. They'd share photos from their daily lives, morning coffee shots, sunset walks, candid moments that felt intimate and real. The conversations went deeper than anything I'd experienced on dating apps, touching on philosophy, fears, dreams for the future. The pattern with each fake profile was identical in retrospect, but invisible in the moment. 2 to 3 weeks of intense connection. Plans made for a first date somewhere meaningful. A jazz club Natasha had mentioned loving. Isabella's favorite wine bar. A photography exhibit Sophia was featuring in. Then, devastation. Natasha ghosted completely, her profile vanishing as if it had never existed. Isabella sent a long message about not being ready for something real before blocking me. Sophia stood me up, leaving me waiting at the gallery for 2 hours, checking my phone obsessively, while other visitors pitied the obviously abandoned man clutching wilted flowers. Each rejection sent me spiraling into longer depressive episodes, and Dr. Taylor was always there with emergency sessions, analyzing what I'd done wrong, how I'd scared away another potential soulmate with my unresolved attachment wounds. What made the fake profile so convincing was the depth of detail. Natasha had a complete Facebook history dating back 8 years, with photos showing consistent aging, friend groups that evolved naturally, posts about her academic career that aligned with real university events. Her Instagram showed a life that felt authentic, messy apartments, bad hair days, celebrations with what appeared to be longtime friends. When she mentioned her father's death 3 years ago, I could find the obituary online. When she talked about presenting at an academic conference, the conference was real. The topic aligned with her stated expertise. The amount of work required to create such elaborate false identities was staggering. But in the moment, I had no reason to question reality. The real women I matched with during this period faced a different kind of sabotage. Dr. Taylor would analyze each match with devastating precision, always finding fatal flaws I'd somehow missed. Emma's use of ellipses in texts revealed passive-aggressive communication patterns. Jessica's quick responses showed anxious attachment, likely stemming from childhood trauma. Lauren's career ambitions meant she'd never prioritize a relationship. Each analysis came with supporting research, articles from psychology journals that Dr. Taylor would pull up on the office tablet, highlighting relevant passages. I started ending promising connections based on these red flags, trusting professional expertise over my own instincts. The women I rejected often seemed confused and hurt, unable to understand why I'd suddenly turned cold after warm beginnings. But Dr. Taylor assured me I was saving myself from future heartbreak by recognizing incompatibility early. Physical symptoms started manifesting as the months wore on. Insomnia became my default state, lying awake, replaying conversations and wondering what I'd done wrong. My appetite disappeared. I lost 15 pounds and had to buy new clothes that hung loose on my shrinking frame. Friends commented on my appearance, the dark circles that no amount of concealer could hide, the way I'd jump when my phone buzzed with potential matches or messages. Dr. Taylor expressed concern, but framed it as part of the process. Breaking through limiting beliefs requires discomfort. You're shedding your old self to make room for who you're becoming. The language felt cultish in retrospect, but at the time it seemed profound. I was being remade, reformed, rebuilt into someone capable of love. The suffering was just proof the process was working. My social life crumbled as dating consumed every free moment. Weekends were spent on dates that went nowhere, or recovering from the emotional aftermath of another ghosting. Evenings meant messaging matches according to Dr. Taylor's complex algorithms for optimal engagement. Friend gatherings became opportunities to practice the social dynamics we'd discussed in sessions, turning casual conversations into exhausting performances. Michael tried to intervene again, pointing out that I seemed worse than before starting coaching. "You're like a ghost of yourself," he said over beers I barely touched. "This coach is supposed to be helping, but you look like you're dying." I defended Dr. Taylor viciously, using the language I'd learned in sessions about how real change required discomfort, how most people couldn't understand the depth of transformation I was undergoing. Michael's concern looked like jealousy through my coached lens. He was stuck in his comfortable relationship while I was brave enough to do the real work. The breaking point came through a glitch in the matrix of deception. I'd been messaging with Catherine, a pediatric nurse whose profile had none of the red flags Dr. Taylor usually identified. She was real. I'd video chatted with her twice, met mutual friends who vouched for her, even done the obsessive social media stalking that had become my pre-date ritual. We'd planned to meet for Saturday brunch at a place she'd suggested, a little cafe known for their lavender lattes. I was actually feeling hopeful for the first time in months. Then Friday night, the familiar pattern struck. At 2:47 a.m., messages were sent from my account, rambling, incoherent texts about my ex-wife, who didn't exist, my struggles with addiction, I barely drank, and graphic sexual content that made me nauseous to read. Catherine's response was swift and brutal. "I knew you were too good to be true. Please don't contact me again." Blocked on everything before I even woke up, but this time, something was different. I'd fallen asleep on the couch watching Netflix, my laptop open beside me. The screensaver hadn't kicked in, and I could see the reflection in the dark TV screen. My dating apps were open, cursor moving, messages being typed by invisible hands. The realization hit like ice water. Someone had remote access to my computer. My hands shook as I opened the activity monitor, seeing processes running that I didn't recognize, network traffic streaming to IP addresses I couldn't identify. I'd worked in IT long enough to know what this meant. The optimization apps Dr. Taylor had installed weren't analyzing my dating patterns. They were giving someone complete control over my digital life. I spent the entire weekend dissecting every process running on my computer, every app Dr. Taylor had installed, every permission I'd blindly granted. The technical sophistication was staggering. The DateSync Pro app wasn't just monitoring my dating activity, it was a full surveillance suite. Keyloggers captured every character I typed. Screen recording software documented every swipe, every match, every conversation. The app had deep system access, able to read other apps' data, access my camera and microphone, even monitor my location continuously. But the most chilling discovery was the remote access tool hidden within the supposed AI coaching assistant. Someone could control my computer and phone as if sitting right in front of them, sending messages, deleting matches, even taking photos through my camera without the indicator light activating. Using my IT knowledge, I traced the IP addresses. Most ran through VPNs and proxy servers, but one mistake in the configuration revealed a real location. An apartment complex 12 blocks from Dr. Taylor's office. The building's management confirmed Dr. Taylor maintained a second unit there, paid for through a shell company called Therapeutic Innovations LLC. The same company name appeared on several charges to my credit card that I'd never questioned, assuming they were legitimate coaching expenses. I started creating a timeline, mapping every sabotaged relationship against the technical evidence. Amanda's blocking coincided with explicit photos being sent from my IP address at 3:45 a.m. The access logs showed remote control software active at that exact time. Jennifer's mysterious caller claiming to be my ex-wife happened while my phone was supposedly in airplane mode, but the spyware logs showed outgoing VoIP calls being made through the dating apps. Sarah's escort website screenshots were hosted on servers registered to the same shell company. Each piece of evidence added another layer to a picture I still couldn't fully comprehend. Why would a successful coach systematically destroy client relationships? What was the endgame? The fake profiles haunted me most. I dug deeper into Natasha, Isabella, and Sophia, searching for the source images, the original photos that had been stolen to create these elaborate identities. Reverse image searches led nowhere initially. These weren't stock photos or Instagram models. Then I found them in Dr. Taylor's own published research papers. The photos were from a university study on facial features and romantic attraction conducted 5 years ago. Participants who'd consented to their images being used for academic purposes, never knowing they'd become props in an elaborate deception. The profiles themselves were works of art in manipulation. Each woman's interests, communication style, and emotional availability had been precisely calibrated to appeal to specific aspects of my personality that Dr. A. Taylor had documented during our sessions. Monday's session approached with the weight of an execution. I'd transferred all evidence to multiple secure cloud accounts, emailed copies to my lawyer friend, and even mailed a physical USB drive to my parents with instructions not to open it unless something happened to me. Paranoid, perhaps, but I'd learned that someone capable of this level of deception might be capable of anything. I arrived at Dr. Taylor's office wearing a wire, my phone recording video in my shirt pocket, every word about to be captured for whatever legal proceedings might follow. The familiar office felt different now. The warm lighting seemed designed to lower defenses, the comfortable chairs positioned to make clients vulnerable, the tissues strategically placed for the tears Dr. Taylor knew how to extract. "You seem tense today," Dr. Taylor observed, settling into the usual chair with that leather journal. "Tell me what's been happening since our last session." I pulled out my laptop instead, turning it to show the documented evidence. The keystroke logs, the remote access sessions, the fake profiles traced back to the university study. Dr. Taylor's face went through a series of transformations. Surprise, calculation, something that looked almost like relief, and finally, a strange sort of calm. "How long have you known?" The question came out barely above a whisper, the professional mask finally slipping completely. "Since Friday night," I said, keeping my voice steady, despite the anger burning in my chest. "When I caught your software controlling my computer in real time. When Catherine blocked me after receiving messages I never sent. When I traced the fake profiles back to your research. I pulled up more evidence. Financial records showing the shell company, the apartment lease, even security footage from the building showing Dr. Taylor entering the secondary location, at times corresponding with the sabotage incidents. What I don't understand is why. What possible reason could you have for destroying every chance at happiness I've had?" Dr. Taylor stood abruptly, walking to the window overlooking the city. For a long moment, silence filled the office like a physical presence. Then, without turning around, "Do you know what it's like to study love your entire life without ever feeling it? To help couple after couple find their happiness while remaining fundamentally alone?" The words came out in a rush, years of carefully maintained composure crumbling. "I've published 17 papers on attachment theory. I've given talks to thousands about vulnerability and connection, but I couldn't." Dr. Taylor turned finally, and I saw tears, real or performed. I couldn't tell anymore. "That doesn't explain destroying my relationships," I said, fighting to maintain control. "That doesn't justify the fake profiles, the surveillance, the systematic sabotage." But Dr. Taylor was already pulling out a different laptop, fingers flying over keys. On screen appeared a folder labeled with my name, containing subfolder after subfolder, session recordings, detailed notes, and something else. A document titled Project Soulmate, Creating Perfect Connection Through Controlled Variables. My blood ran cold as I realized this wasn't just about sabotage. This was an experiment, and I was the primary test subject. "It started as research," Dr. Taylor explained. voice taking on the detached tone of academic presentation. Could someone engineer the perfect romantic connection by controlling all variables? Remove incompatible matches? Create idealized scenarios? Build emotional dependency through strategic failures? Then introduce the ideal partner at the moment of maximum receptiveness. The document outlined everything in clinical detail. Phase 1. Establish trust and map subjects' romantic patterns. Phase 2. Systematically eliminate natural matches while building dependence on coach. Phase 3. Create elaborate false connections to study emotional responses. Phase 4. Engineer total romantic collapse leading to... I couldn't read further. My hands were shaking too hard. You were going to reveal yourself, I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. After destroying my ability to trust anyone else, after making me completely dependent on you, you were going to... What? Confess your feelings? Make me fall in love with my abuser? Dr. Taylor flinched at the word abuser, but didn't deny it. The research suggested that intense shared experiences, even negative ones, create stronger bonds than gradual healthy development. Trauma bonding, professionally speaking. I theorized that revealing my role in your pain, while simultaneously offering to heal it, would create an unbreakable connection. You're insane, I whispered, backing toward the door. But Dr. Taylor moved faster, pressing a button that I heard lock click. Please, just listen. You don't understand the full scope. Another folder opened on the laptop, dozens of client names, each with their own documentation. I wasn't the only one. Dr. Taylor had been running variations of this experiment for years, refining the process, perfecting the manipulation. Some files were marked failed, clients who'd discovered the deception too early or found love despite the sabotage. Others marked success, showed what looked like couples photos. Dr. Taylor with former clients, their faces showing the hollow eyes of people who'd been broken down and rebuilt according to someone else's design. The next moments blurred together. Dr. Taylor lunged for something in the desk drawer. I knocked the laptop off the table, sending evidence scattering. The office door rattled as someone tried to enter from outside, building security responding to a silent alarm I must have triggered. Dr. Taylor's hands wrapped around something metal, but I was already moving, my body remembering self-defense training from years ago. We struggled briefly before security burst in, separating us. In Dr. Taylor's hand was not a weapon, but a syringe, filled with something that forensics would later identify as a powerful sedative. The plan had been to incapacitate me, to have time to delete evidence, to regain control of the narrative. The arrest happened in slow motion. Police officers reading rights while Dr. Taylor maintained eye contact with me, that intensity never wavering. You'll never find real love without me, Dr. Taylor called out as the officers led the way out. Every connection you make, you'll wonder if it's real or another manipulation. I've ruined you for authentic intimacy. You'll always need someone like me to tell you what's genuine. The words hit harder than any physical blow could have. Even in defeat, Dr. Taylor was planting seeds of doubt that would grow in the darkness of every future moment of vulnerability. The investigation revealed the true scope of the operation. The elegant office was a stage set, the degrees legitimate, but the practice built on exploitation. 17 victims came forward initially, then more as news spread. Men and women who'd sought help for loneliness and found only deeper isolation, manufactured connections that dissolved at crucial moments, years of their lives stolen by someone who claimed to be healing them. The technical infrastructure was impressive. Servers full of surveillance data, algorithms for creating perfect fake profiles, even AI trained on thousands of hours of session recordings to generate responses indistinguishable from real human connection. Dr. Taylor had been building a dark mirror of the dating industry, using technology not to connect people, but to isolate them. The trial took months. More disturbing details emerged. Dr. Taylor had hired actors to play roles in clients' lives, the concerned friend who warned matches away, the ex who appeared at inopportune moments, even service workers who would sabotage dates through accidents. My testimony took 3 days. The hardest part was hearing from other victims. One man described 4 years of manipulation ending in suicide attempt after the 15th orchestrated rejection. Another victim still believed Dr. Taylor was trying to help, showing up to court supportively. Verdict: guilty on all charges. 12 years federal prison, lifetime license revocation, victim restitution. Recovery has been slow. I found a new therapist specializing in therapeutic abuse. We worked through each sabotaged relationship, grieving not just lost connections, but stolen time. The fake profiles haunted me most. I'd developed real feelings for fiction. Today, 5 years later, I'm with Amy. She knew my story before we matched, had seen the documentary about Dr. Taylor's victims. Our first date was at a police station. I jokingly suggested meeting there for identity verification. She understood humor was how I processed needing to background check partners. We've been together 18 months, longer than any relationship during the Dr. Taylor years. Amy jokes that Dr. Taylor gave me a PhD in recognizing manipulation. Every red flag I was trained to see, every pattern learned, they're all still there. Hypervigilant guardians. Amy proposed last month, understanding I might never be comfortable taking that step. She did it simply during our regular Tuesday walk, asking if I'd like to try building something permanent. I said yes, through surprising tears. Dr. Taylor tried to make me hopeless by controlling love, but ultimately proved genuine connection exists beyond manipulation. Every fake profile highlighted what authentic wasn't. Every sabotaged relationship demonstrated resilience of human desire for companionship. Love isn't engineered. It grows wild despite containment efforts. I was never hopeless, just temporarily lost in someone else's maze. The maze is gone, its architect imprisoned, and I'm free to walk straight paths toward connections of my own choosing. That freedom, hard-won and carefully guarded, is the opposite of hopeless. It's the most hope I've ever had.